Here's a scenario. You pay thousands of dollars to one of these online companies for a medical nexus opinion or exam. They inform you don't go to any exams the VA schedules for you. You trust them, so you don't go. Next thing you know, you're being denied your VA claim because you didn't go to that exam. Welcome to VA Made Easy. I'm VA accredited attorney and U.S. Army combat veteran Ed Farmer. Today, we're going to discuss the pros and the cons of skipping a VA C&P exam when you have private medical evidence in the file. If you've been denied your VA claim, visit me at vetlawoffice.com. Not only do we provide zealous advocacy, we have access to VA medical nexus opinions. We have legal investigators help you with those buddy statements, and I'll prep you before your C&P exam. Schedule a free consultation at vetlawoffice.com, but for now, let's get into it. All right, before we discuss the pros and the cons of skipping an exam when you have private medical evidence in the file, let's discuss why these companies advise you to skip the VA C&P exam. There is some validity to it. So VA rules and regulations say when the medical evidence is complete and sufficient for VA rating purposes, they don't need to go out and get another VA exam. So in other words, these companies are trying to avoid getting another negative opinion in the file. They're trying to force the VA to make a decision based on what's already in the file, which is their positive opinion. So it makes sense. But let's discuss what could go wrong and why this advice doesn't always go in your benefit. All right, the first problem with skipping a VA C&P exam and forcing them to use the evidence in the record are the adjudicators at the regional office. They don't understand this rule. They don't understand or know about the rule that, hey, you don't need an exam here if you already have competent, sufficient medical evidence in the file. These guys are overworked, undertrained. Sometimes they're being hired straight off the street and being put in these positions. They don't have the experience or knowledge to understand that there's a rule that says, hey, you don't need a VA C&P exam in this instance if you have competent, sufficient medical evidence already in the file. So if they don't understand the rule, that's just going to result in another denial. All right, the second problem with skipping a VA C&P exam when you have private medical evidence in the file is your evidence might not be adequate for VA rating purposes. I've said this time and time again, guys. Just because you pay some bozo on the internet for a VA medical nexus opinion doesn't mean that medical nexus opinion is good or adequate. I've seen a lot of junk out there. Many of these examiners don't even look at your VA or military records before forming the opinion. That's an inadequate opinion. Some don't offer an explanation or rationale for their opinion. In other words, they don't explain why they think your condition is related to service. That also renders that opinion inadequate. Many of these are copy and paste jobs. I've had clients with the same medical nexus opinion from the same medical provider. These two clients don't know each other. They're unrelated. They have the same opinion. The only thing that's changed are the names. There's a physician's assistant out there. I'm not going to name his name, but he writes a lot of opinions linking migraines to tinnitus and sleep apnea to tinnitus. He uses junk science, and he must write 10 of these a day. It's the same opinion over and over again. And some of these private opinions are going to be inadequate because the VA is going to require in-person exams. If you have a joint case or a back case or a case that involves a respiratory issue, all those types of cases require in-person exams so they could do range of motion tests or they could perform a pulmonary function test on you. These companies online are not bringing you in for an exam, but an in-person examination is going to be required in some instances. And if they don't provide an in-person examination, you're going to have to get that in-person examination to the VA. The third reason skipping a VA C&P exam when you have private medical evidence in the file could backfire on you is, believe it or not, the VA's C&P exam could turn out to be beneficial for you. If you have a private medical nexus opinion that is well reasoned, has a good rationale explaining why your condition is linked to service, it reviewed all the necessary documents, that could persuade the VA's examiner to go the same way. I've had it happen. I know some of you are doubters, but it is possible. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. And so let's talk about the flip side of things, skipping the exam. So skipping the exam can be beneficial in some instances. For example, maybe you're not confident that you're going to get a positive opinion out of the VA, and you already have multiple positive opinions in the file, and now the VA wants to send you for a third one. That might be an instance you want to think about skipping the exam. Because if you have a positive opinion from the VA, your own positive opinion, the only thing the VA could be doing in this instance is potentially trying to develop negative evidence against you. And so if you skip that exam, you're not allowing them to put another negative opinion in the file. And if you go to the exam and you get a negative opinion, now the negative opinions outweigh the positive, and that could be held against you. Next, if you skip a VA C&P exam and have private medical evidence in the file, the damage could be limited if you still have appeal options. Many times you do still have appeal options. So you might want to take that gamble and see what happens, because you could still do a higher level review if you didn't do one last time. You could explain to the higher level reviewer, hey, my opinion is sufficient, competent, and meets VA criteria for rating purposes. You should have used that opinion to make your decision. Explain the benefit of the doubt rule. Hey, you have a negative opinion in the file and I have a positive opinion. You should have granted. Or you should just use the information that was in the file in the first place. You also have the option to file a supplemental appeal, get new and relevant evidence, maybe another medical opinion, or get whoever wrote you the first one to fix a few things in their opinion. And you always have the board. The Board of Veterans Appeals understands these rules. They understand the benefit of the doubt rule. They understand what constitutes competent, sufficient medical evidence. So yes, the board takes a long time, but they really do understand the rules and regulations much, much better than the VA regional office. So if you skip an exam and you're okay with the possibility of being denied, just remember you probably still have some appellate options on the table. All right, so those are some pros and some cons of skipping a VA C&P exam when you already have private medical evidence in the file. So you're asking, well, what do I do, Ed? Well, you got to make a calculated choice. Are you confident in the private medical opinion that you obtained? Is it sufficient? Does it review all the evidence? Does the science add up? Do they give a good rationale as to why they think your condition's related to service? If not, maybe you want to rethink skipping that exam. Or are you okay with skipping the exam and getting denied again and going through the appeals process? If you're in a big hurry to get it done, maybe you want to think otherwise. You guys know your case better than anybody. You have to make the choice. There are cons and pros to skipping the exam. I suggest talking to a VA accredited attorney or representative and discussing with them whether or not you should be skipping that exam. And that does it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. And as always, you have the power to change your VA claim.